So The Rock and his production company are the first company, to my knowledge, that are sort of having an overreaction to this whole Alec Baldwin situation. And it seems like it's coming from more of a trying to shift blame on the gun rather than acknowledge the fact that your set was just filled with incompetence, inexperience, which just ended up in a complete shit show, just a disaster. But they're going to be the first production company that will use rubber guns instead of real guns moving forward. So to me, it seems like a bit of an overreaction. Because it seems to me it's like, well, really what should be happening, and what should have been happening on this Rust set was a bit more health and safety. But clearly that just wasn't the case. With all the stuff coming out about this, it's just been a shit show. I don't really think there's any denying that. But I mean, you're certainly going to see that shift of blame coming from the Rust set, rather than just accept that, like, the responsibility that they just were running the thing in a complete shambles. So it seems to me it's like, well, anyone that has to touch a gun should be trained and know everything there is to know. You don't need everyone on set, but anyone that has to handle it should know what they're doing. Because this is a very, very rare thing. I mean, the only thing at times I can is Brandon Lee and this. I'm sure there's been others, but they're the sort of big ones that most people know about. So I don't know why they didn't have this sort of idea like when it happened to Brandon Lee. But yeah, it comes down to incompetence. You've had an armourer that was inexperienced and has a history of not really being that safe. At least from the stuff I'm seeing anyway. So this is definitely, it is an overreaction. Just to go, well, we're not going to focus on the actual problem. Right, we'd rather just go, like, take the easy way out sort of thing. But yeah, when you're talking about the Rust set, you're going to get people on there just trying to shift blame onto the weapon itself, rather than people just being incompetent and irresponsible. But we'll get into it and see what he had to say. Variety's Elizabeth Wagmeister asked Johnson, "What do you think about firearms on set, and how can we ensure that things are always safe in the industry?" The actor responded, "Liz, that's a great question. First of all, I was heartbroken when I read that, and it was the kind of story that you read and you're like, am I reading this shit right? Did this really happen? And you want to confirm it. I start to text people who I know, who know people, because it's a small industry we're in, and they confirm that, yeah, that happened, and we lost a life. So my heart goes out to her family and everybody on set. I've known Alec too, as well for a very long time." Johnson then announced he would be banning firearms from all films his production company, Seven Buck Productions, works on. He stated, "I can't speak for other production companies or other studios. I can tell you, though, what we should do in a scenario like this. Learn from it." Yeah, and like I said, the learning part of it would be make sure the people that have to handle the weapon are all trained. They know exactly everything there is to know and follow safety measures, rather than just go, well, we just got to jump straight to rubber guns. That's what it's just. It is a bit of an overreaction. And as we move forward, there are new protocols and new measures, safety measures, that we should take, especially in the wake of what just happened. He added, "Again, I can't speak for anyone else, but I can tell you without an absence of clarity here that any movie that we have moving forward with Seven Bucks Productions, any movie, any television show, or anything we do or produce, we won't use real guns at all. We're going to switch over to rubber guns, and we are going to take care of it in post." And that's sort of the thing where you might run into issues. Because obviously the main reason why they'll have real guns is to make it realistic. I don't really see... I still see a lot of people going, well, we're just going to stick to the same thing and just make sure... just have protocols in place so this doesn't happen. It's already a really rare thing. And specifically to this Alec Baldwin Russ situation, it just turned out in a complete shit show because clearly nobody gave a shit. So the switch to rubber guns, I don't know how well that's going to turn out, because CGI isn't looking great at the moment. So I don't really know how they're going to go about it. But it is an overreaction. And like I said, why were they not saying all this when it happened to Brandon Lee? I imagine there was people say, but no, not like serious enough about it. So I don't know why with this one in particular, because this is a very unique situation. But really, that's what I think is they should just, anyone that has to handle the gun should be trained by professionals, and that's what should be happening. But I mean, this is what they're sort of going to go for in Hollywood anyway, because a lot of Hollywood, they're not a fan of guns. They're a fan of hiring security with guns, but they're not a fan of guns. But it's very strange that way in Hollywood. But this isn't really learning from it. Learning from it would be just have the right measure. I mean, most sets are going to be fine either way. You're not going to end up with situations like this. It's just the fact that the people working on this set were not running a tight ship. It was a shambles. You had production crew walking out. You had an inexperienced armorer with a history of just not being very safe. I mean, we've seen the stories about this woman on Nicolas Cage's set where he walked off because I think it was something to do with like she shot a gun off or something without warning. But that's why it's happened. It's all these things have just added up and ended up like this. Just people running a shambles. So it's just an overreaction to go, well, rubber guns. So it just comes down to the question: is it going to look good? Is it going to look realistic? Because that's why they've got real guns there, for realism. But this is just sort of taking the easy way out. You don't want to do the work and have the safety in place so this doesn't happen, and it's a rare occurrence. That the only way this is going to happen is if it's on a set like Rust was, just a complete mess. But as it is Hollywood, they're always going to take the easy route. They'd rather shift blame onto someone else rather than take responsibility for what happened. But we'll have to see if anyone else sort of follows these footsteps, because I do see like them bringing in like sort of these Hollywood rules and putting them in place so you're not allowed to do it. But if that doesn't happen, I imagine there's still going to be a lot of productions that will still do it as usual. So I don't really, it might take a bit of a trend, but I don't see everyone doing that. Especially if you're talking about directors and stuff like that are known for the realism. They're not really going to be for all this. I imagine you'll get well, no, it's clear this is the fault of the people on the production. But it's always just, the Hollywood way is just, no, we shift blame to someone else. Can't take responsibility for something. But we'll see how it turns out anyway. But that's all I've got to say on that. So if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.